Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Taproom Success Podcast. My name is Carrie Shumway, and my co-host and good buddy Andrew Copeland is with us as well. Andrew, how
I
are you,
do
sir?
want to add, Carrie, it's not just podcast anymore because people can watch us on camera. So,
I don't know who
show.
would do that. Why would
Taproom
anyone do that?
Success Show, perhaps. I don't know.
The show. Okay, that's good. I like that.
Welcome to the show.
This is the Taproom Success Show. Welcome, everybody. And we cover a variety of different topics, but one of the topics that does come up a lot, and it's kind of a lightning rod one that it seems to be, I don't know about controversial, but it creates a lot of questions, and that is tipping. How to structure this? Do we do tip pools? Some breweries are doing a no tip model. How do we share that? All of the things. But today we're going to talk specifically about kind of like the data behind and what you're seeing with tipping in general. So um, you and I were talking about. I think I had a brewery client that said, tipping's just down across the board. So you've been tracking this tip data for a long time. So what are you seeing for trends and how big of an impact is the decline actually having, like on steps?
Yeah, you actually inspired me to dive deep. I think you sent me an email on a weekend. I saw it come from you. I was interested. I opened it up. I'm like, you know what? I haven't looked at any tip trend data recently. I talk a lot about you offer higher engagement, you get a higher tip, lower engagement, lower tip, but I hadn't looked at it year over year. So thank you. You inspired me to do that. And what we looked at a data set over 2022 to 2024. It's about 1,300 unique taproom visits. So that's what we dove into. And looking at from 2022 to 2024, there's a steady decline of about 1.5 percentage points over the years. In 2022, the average tip we saw in tap rooms was 23.7%. And in 2024, it was 22.2%, which feels like a lucky number in some way there, although it's lower than we definitely want to see. So it's not a huge drop, but think about your team in the tap room. And let's say the average tap room staff member is working, 20 shifts a month, handling 20 tabs a shift for 400 total tabs per month. So our data shows that the average tab, which in our data is actually two guests, is going to be about $44. And that includes tip and tax. So once you kind of work that out, the average server in 2022 made $4,100 in tips. Okay. Looking into 2023, 39.50. 2024, 38.69. It's a drop of $265 over those just few years. I mean, while I'm saying it to begin with, oh, that's not a huge amount, but you added up 265 times 12, someone working in your tap room could pay quite a few bills with that. And at a time where everybody's trying to make a little bit more and we're just challenged, it is a drop. So while percentage wise it is small, for those who you're trying to keep employed, it's an important part of what they're getting from coming to work at your tap room.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, prior to knowing that data, it was more like anecdotal, like, man, I don't know the tips are going. It feels to me like maybe they're going up because there's so much prompting now with the point of sale systems. Like, whereas before, you'd sort of be left to your own devices to calculate some, 15% or 10% or 20%. You had to do the math, or you'd have those little things where you could circle it, make it easy. But now it's like it's right there, and they're always looking at you like they'll turn the screen around, but if I don't hit, a decent tip amount, what's going to happen?
So I haven't fully organized my thoughts on this, but I read deep into like people's tipping habits right now. And you just mentioned everywhere you freaking go, tip
Yeah.
this, tip that. Like no matter where you go, even if the person is arguably just handing you a bag of chips, often there's that tip line there. So what that's created, and a lot of people take this stance is people have tip fatigue. They're just tired of tipping. So at one point when you would tip in less places, maybe you tipped a little bit more because you truly appreciated that. Now, every place we go, you're not thinking as much about the tip percentage. You're just hitting the button. You're just hitting the button. You're not saying, "Oh, Carrie was great. I'm going to go above and beyond and, type in a custom tip or tip extra." You're just doing the average. And I think that's kind of what might be happening right now. Everywhere you go, people are just tipping. And tap rooms come in all shapes and sizes. There's tap rooms that give you a huge level of hospitality, and there's others you go when they're just an order taker. Do you want to tip the person who's just an order taker the same, who's going above and beyond, offering recommendations, asking you if it's your first time, teaching you about the brand? In your opinion, should they get the same tip? We don't need to answer that question today. But what I can say that we see is that people who offer a higher level engagement, team members who really take the time to build relationships, they're still seeing better tips than the average. Looking at 2022, people who offered a high level of engagement, they were getting tipped 24.2%. Looking ahead to 2024, they're getting tipped 23.3%. Yes, it is down, but it's not down as many points. So even when you look at low engagement, oh, that's where it gets even worse. Low engagement a few years ago was at, let's say, I'm trying to find it right now. It hovers around like the 18% mark. So no one wants to be getting that low engagement. So while the national trends may be down, there are things you can do to offer a high level of hospitality that increase your team members' chances of keeping it high. And I cite this all the time, but looking at 2022 to 2024, because that's our big data set right now, guests who receive a high level engagement, they're spending 40% more. So if you take the time to build that relationship with that guest, their tab is going to be 40% higher. So maybe they only tip 23.3% versus 24.2%. Maybe they tip a little bit less. But if you're getting that tab 40% higher by offering that high level of engagement, it once again pays off. And it will kind of help counteract that little bit of a drop that we're seeing nationwide.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I mean, it's the tip percentage is one thing, but it's what's the base upon which that tip percentage is applied. So, yeah, the more you can drive that ticket up, even if you get a
All
slightly,
about that base, the
it,
upsell opportunities.
it's
Yeah.
all about, yeah, the base, the dollars that are there. So, I guess for folks that are watching or listening, what are three things that you recommend staff can do right now to kind of fight that what we're maybe perceiving as a downward trend and see stronger tips?
These are three very easy things you can do, but the odds are many people are not doing them. So I really encourage you to write them down and think about what you're going to do next. So we're here to give experiences. We're not just offering customer service. Offer a high level of hospitality. Do things like introduce yourself, share your story, educate your guest on your beers and more. Get to know them, build relationships, remember their names, the things they like. So that number one is don't just provide service, provide hospitality. I think that is key because that's going to give people the motivators to come back to your spot. Now, the second, it's what we preach all the time, upsell. Literally, just like you said, Carrie, the higher we can get these tabs, the guest staff member who's, asking if you want another, asking if you want to take some to go, they're going through all the other hospitable actions as well. But when you can increase the tab size, it makes that experience more engaging because you're doing those little questioning, but it's also getting the tab higher and people are going to tip higher as well because that's what we see. So to fight the decline in tips, let's try to increase the size of those tabs by upselling. Would you like some more of that? Would you like some to go? Just get in the habit of doing it. Next, and you're going to like this one a lot, Carrie, look at the data, monitor your point of sale metrics. One that I love, tip percentage, look monthly, look weekly, maybe even look daily of who's performing at a high level and a low level. If Carrie, you're getting only a 17% average tip and I'm getting a 24% tip in the same tap room, one of us is probably doing something different than the other. Look at those habits and what can be trained or how can the other person be coached to get that tip percentage up a little bit higher. Definitely use the data to kind of see where your staff stands. You might see that team member who's been with you for years always engaging with the mug club members, but you might learn through looking at the data while they might be killing it with their mug club members who they've known for a decade, they might not be treating the new guests the same and the tip percentage there might be a lot less. So look at the data and see what it says. And really, customer service is not just what you're doing, you're offering hospitality, upsell, look at the data.
Those are great ideas, great points. And for folks listening and watching, if you want more like this, we invite you to check out taproomsuccess.com. There you'll find our 24/7 access to our Taproom Success Blueprint. So you can do a self-guided through all of our educational materials. We do monthly mastermind meetings with taproom owners and managers from across the land. And then once a month, we bring in an expert on specific topics to help you run a more successful and profitable taproom. And then, of course, improve the guest experience for all that come to your location.
And with those experts, we're just not throwing 10 things at you to focus on each month. Each month, we have a focus for you of what you need to be thinking about. We've recently done staff training and development as one month. We did guest engagement and experience. Soon we'll be diving into product quality and presentation. So we're listening to you and the topics that are most important to you and dedicating a whole month to those areas.
The 12 pillars of success. So each month we'll rotate through those and really hammer home on those points. Because you're right, it's like it's hard to do everything all at once, but if you break it down into smaller chunks, really focus on that, then you rotate the next month to a new area of your business to improve. That's the name of the game. So
Everybody
thanks
wants to win.
everybody.
Yeah,
What's
take it, Carrie.
Yeah, we're just going to bring us home and say, thanks everybody for listening and watching. And, again, if you'd love to like to join the conversation, you can check us out at taproomsuccess.com. And if you like what you see there, you can sign up and we get to see you a couple times a month and it's great fun.
See you soon, everybody. Cheers.